Big 10 regular season champions, baby. Come on.
Let's go, baby.
This has been such a fun freaking week.
Unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. I'm so pumped. I have not stopped just like riding the high all day. I'm high on our own supply over here. It's
Totally.
so fun. Oh yeah. Hi. Welcome back to the We Got It podcast. I'm just so pumped about Michigan State basketball. Can't even remember why we're here. What's going on? So sorry if you feel thrown off from our normal intro. Let's dive into it. I'm so excited. If you aren't familiar, the We Got It podcast is an official podcast of Spartans Illustrated, which is just a phenomenal hub, especially today, to consume all the Michigan State content. If our little podcast isn't enough for you and you just need more, I know there's going to be so many great pieces that are already up, that are going to be coming up there. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed, followed on YouTube, Spotify, all the places, you're definitely going to want to do that because we are headed down to the Big 10 tournament this weekend. Don't even get me started. I'm going to lose my mind over it.
We're going to have content on content on content for you guys the next 2 weeks.
Really?
Next 3 weeks, next 4 weeks.
Yeah. We're just going to keep it rolling.
Just like, subscribe, you follow along because you're not going to miss it. We're going to be here for you the whole ride as we go through March.
And quite frankly, I don't even think we know like the surprises and content yet that we've got coming for you. So we don't know. So you should subscribe so that you are the first in the know, and we'll try to keep up. Welcome to the We Got It podcast,
a Michigan State sports podcast for everyone.
We're Jonah and Abby, a husband and wife who's probably a little too obsessed with Spartan sports.
And we want to share a little bit of that obsession with you, from casual fans
to die-hard bleed green fanatics.
And we want to make following Spartan sports easy, enjoyable, and engaging for everyone.
Go green!
Well, Abby, about this time last week, we were sitting, really Sunday morning.
I gotta calm down.
And Michigan State and Michigan were tied in the Big 10 standings.
Yeah, okay. Yep, we're gonna go here.
And now 1 week later, not only does Michigan State have a Big 10 championship, they have an outright Big 10 championship.
Sole possession,
and
baby.
They won the league by 3 games. This wasn't even close in the end.
Okay, so this is just what's going to happen today. If you are a Wolverine fan, 1, why are you here? 2, I don't think you're going to want to stick around and listen to this.
Probably not.
There's going to be some things that are said on this podcast. 1, we are outright Big 10 champs by 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State played 2 games since we saw you guys last time. All I'm saying is that Michigan had the chance to have everything on the line this week.
Mm-hmm.
They had the chance to go into this rivalry game on senior day at Michigan State with some fire in their bellies, fighting for a Big 10 title. And they didn't even make it to there.
Because guess what? They don't got no dogs.
No dogs. Okay, we're gonna get into that more later. We gotta focus up a little bit. I'm seriously spazzing out from this game. And I'm sorry, we are gonna talk about Iowa. We're gonna talk about all the good things that happened this week. You know, selfishly, I had to work again today, as I sometimes do on Sundays. And I did not get to watch the game. When I tell you that the last 4 hours of my workday were pure torture. Pure torture. But I have been having so much fun because I got to vicariously experience the game the first time through my family chat, through Jonah texting me, through catching little glimpses on my phone of Blue Sky and YouTube TV. And then I got to come home and I got to rewatch the whole game and just bask in the glory of that victory.
And glory it was. I mean,
my gosh.
From the opening tip, like, I know this might be a little bit of recency bias, but I don't know if I've ever heard the Breslin Center that consistently wild and crazy and loud from literally start to finish. than this game. They absolutely brought it, and they made this environment an environment where I don't think really Michigan already wanted to be here, but they really did not want to be here within minutes of the tip.
Yeah.
And Michigan State starts knocking down threes. It's a 10-point lead before you can even blink.
Jeremy Fears Jr. had a fire lit underneath him from the very get-go. We weren't even a minute into the game, and he's getting chippy. And I love it. Tom has to go over and be like, Jeremy,
chill, dude, chill. We got 40 more minutes.
Gotta reel it in a little bit. But you know what I love about that? And there's going to be people out there that are like, I don't like that attitude. I love it. It's that dog mentality. Mm-hmm. It's what Michigan has been absolutely lacking. As Carter Elliott said when he was on Locked On Spartans this week, these boys have a screw loose. Like, there is just absolutely no quit in them. Like, and again, my dad said he hates that term, but he goes, but these boys have no quit in them, because it's so freaking true. And this is why I love it, is because right after that happened, I think that he was talking trash to Donaldson, and right on the next possession, Donaldson hits him with just like the cheapest, dumbest foul, right? Like, already just swaying things in Michigan State direction. And it just kept going like that all half. I mean, turnover after turnover after turnover that Michigan State forced.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you could say about this whole entire season. And today was really just a microcosm of that, is you have guys like Jeremy Fears and Jaden Akins, who at times haven't been playing up to the level they've hoped, that we've hoped they've been playing to, but that has never affected their heart, their hustle, their mentality, their effort, their defense. Like, if their shots aren't falling, no other part of their game is suffering because of that. What
I was just going to say, like, every other aspect of their game except for shots falling. And I can't remember who I was hearing talk about it this week. It was actually a clip from earlier in the season. I remember sending it to you, that, you know, all these other teams, and we alluded to this last week too, like all these other teams in college basketball who are focusing more and more on metrics, more and more on shooting the three. Tom is out here saying, as he said at the end of the game, we're here to do things differently. We're here to go old school. And he's been doing it all freaking season. And guess what? It's working. If you had told me going into this season, we were just chatting about this, that when we did our Michigan State basketball season preview, we had the Will Tiemann on, and we chatted through, like, we really have no idea what this team's going to shape up to be.
Wow.
And the fun thing about that is that there's not really any expectations. And I remember him saying, like, I really think this is a special group of guys, but, like, we'll just have to see. Well, baby, they're Big Ten champions. Like, it's just, I'm mind boggled. And the fact is, we locked this down on Thursday. We didn't even have to battle for it.
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, we locked it down on Wednesday when Michigan lost at home to Maryland after getting absolutely smacked at home on Senior Day last Sunday. I mean, talk about just like no fight. And then you're going to go and be petty about it. But again, we'll get
to there.
So let's calm down a little bit. Let's back up. And let's talk about this Iowa game on Thursday, because this could have been a game. And really in the first half, it almost looked like a game that could have been a trap.
Right. It kind of had all the pieces of being a trap game.
Yeah.
Michigan State already had the Big Ten championship, at least shared at that point. They were coming off of a big win against Wisconsin, looking ahead to the Senior Day against Michigan. Iowa was kind of playing for their Big Ten tournament lives. They kind of had a lot to play for on their senior night.
That's a huge piece.
And I mean, quite frankly, Iowa brought it for really 30 minutes of that game. But again, it comes down to Michigan State just has some dogs who they don't care what's happening. They don't care that they're down 10. You got Trey Holloman chirping at Iowa down 10, which then Michigan State proceeded to go on a 36-7 run after that point. They were down 10 points with 12 minutes left. And at the 10-minute mark, they were up. And then they got that lead up to 17 points. Like, this team, especially like in crunch time, in the moments that matter, they just lock down. They get in your head. They wear you down. They mentally and physically break you down to the point where you just don't have a chance. You're done. You were seeing this in both the end of the Iowa game and even in the first half against Michigan. Guys on both of those teams, they're breathing hard. They're on the bench looking shell-shocked. They're like having a hard time even keeping up. But then Michigan State, like, You don't see that from anybody. Everybody's just fresh, ready to go. And that's because we have 10 guys that you can put out there, and you're constantly throwing these fresh bodies at guys. And we've seen now over a 20-game Big Ten schedule, Michigan State was able to withstand these teams best, and in crunch time, when it mattered, get these victories and win the Big Ten by 3 games.
And I think so much of it is that strength in numbers mentality. This we're going to do things differently mentality. While all these other teams are promoting their top NBA draft picks, they're getting their whatever, all Big Ten, all SEC players out there and promoting them. Like, we're sitting over here with probably no Big Ten first team.
Maybe not even any Big Ten, all Big Ten second team.
Yeah. And so it's just such a testament that we can do things the Tom Izzo way. I mean, I think so many people have been wondering the last few years, and not even just wondering, being pretty blatant, is Tom washed up? Is he ever going to go? And I just want to say, you know what? Shove it. I love
Here's
Tom
the thing.
Izzo. Oh my God.
I don't think these last 3 years prior to this had anything to do with necessarily the Tom Izzo way.
Yeah.
The Tom Izzo way isn't for everybody. Yeah. You got to have that dog in you to do things the Tom Izzo way. And I think in previous years, we lacked some of those guys with that mentality. And this year, we got a roster of quite literally 10 guys who have that mentality in them, who can do things kind of old-fashioned. They can wear you down. Not do it how maybe, like you said, analytics, metrics say you should do things.
Ego.
Exactly. And they unselfish basketball. It's not, we do have a top 10 draft pick on our team, but it's never just the Jace Richardson show. No. Sometimes it might feel like that because he's just so dang good. But even him, he's a willing passer. He's wanting to get other guys involved. Jaden Akins, that senior, it's not all about him. He's looking to get other guys involved. This team just shares the ball. And like Will Tiemann again said in our preview, this is a group of guys who want to win. And that's been really the makeup of the best Tom Izzo teams, is guys not focused on their own performance, not focused on the box score, but the most important thing to them is winning championships and hanging banners. Yeah. And now Izzo, in his 30th year, just hung his 26th banner.
That's insane. 26. Absolutely insane. I just want that to just silence all the hate. And I think if you have any doubt at this point, which I don't know where you could at this point, but go and listen to Tom Izzo's post-game press conference from today and listen to his speech in the Breslin Center after they, celebrate all Michigan. That, and then also celebrated all the seniors, celebrated the Big Ten banner, confetti flying. He is just all about these guys, this kind of mentality, doing things differently, strength in numbers. I mean, you want a master class in who Izzo is and what kind of culture that he facilitates at Michigan State. And this is why we're so passionate about it, because he said something right at the end of his speech that he goes, MSU sports is for everyone. If you look at our logo, MSU sports is for everyone, right? This idea that everyone is welcome here. This is such a family. We love Michigan State.
He's crediting the fans. He's bringing out current football coach, former football coach, bringing out the hockey team, bringing out his former first ever recruit.
Players, yes.
He's bringing, this is a family. And I really just think that, and I guess it's not really that, can't be a fault to those outside of the program. But if you're not a part of Michigan State, you can't really understand truly how much, that is just what Izzo has created, not only for the basketball program, but just the university at large. This is a family, and we're in this together. We're going to do this together. We're going to do it our way. We're going to stick together. Yeah. And for Tom Izzo and this team, we're going to hang some banners.
And, I was going to save this till the end of the segment because I didn't want it to be the focal point of our conversation, but I feel like we've arrived here, right? All of this mentality of Tom Izzo, this idea of family at Michigan State, this is what led to the moment at the end of the game that all of social media cannot stop talking about, right? Is this Trey Holloman, quite frankly, throwing down to defend the court and to defend the Spartan head. on the floor.
Yeah.
And give these seniors the right that 25 years of Spartan fans, no matter how much Dusty May and all the players want to pretend like they didn't know about it, this tradition. And that's why this is important, because this tradition, and what I think is so funny is just reading all of the just sad, depressed, defensive Michigan fans on social media going like, who cares about this tradition? Kissing a floor is so gross. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. You're proving our freaking point. Like, the whole point that Trey asked you to move is because you're not respecting the rivalry. You're not respecting the matchup. And this is what happens every single time Michigan fans don't have things go their way. They just deny reality. They gaslight. They say, oh, the rivalry doesn't actually, mean anything to us. Oh, yeah, you're just the little brother. Even though, I'm sorry, son, we just wiped the floor with your little booties twice in a row. I mean, that's 2 years that we have now swept Michigan. And this is why...
It's actually now 5 times in a row.
Okay, well, 2 years of, double matchups that we have beat them. And this is why I love it. And here, I'm just going to give you my hot take regarding this whole situation. If you don't already know that I am absolutely 100% behind Trey, because if you actually watch a video of this whole thing going down, right? And I don't know what rock you have to be living under, especially if you're Dusty May, his whole facade and thing after the end of like, oh, yeah, the tradition. Sorry, what? Yeah, I don't know about the tradition. Come on, bro. Come on. And so that whole episode, you can see Jaden Akins asking these guys to move, being very respectful about it. They know exactly what's going down. They can see Frankie Fiddler going over, kissing the floor. They can see Kurtang coming in, Zimone Zabala trying to get ready to do the same thing. And then Trey starts talking to him like, hey, guys, you need to move. This is what I'm going to compare this to. Okay, you're in the grocery store. We don't have kids, but I'm sure if you have a kid or if you've had a toddler or you've been to the grocery store, you have a kid and the toddler just is not having it, right? They throw themselves down on the floor and they're not moving. They're blocking other people from going down the aisle. They're not having it, right? So you start like the gentle parenting tactic. You're like, hey, buddy, we got to get up. There's people that are trying to get through here.
You're going to make so many people angry with this.
Okay, so, you're talking to the kid and they're not moving. And so then you get a little bit more urgent. You get a little closer to them. You're like, hey, we really got to move. There's people who need to get through here, right? Maybe there's people skirting past and still doing their thing, like Frankie Fiddler, because he's an adult. He can get on with his business, even if there's a toddler in the way. And then eventually, right, like there's people who have to get through. So you're going to forcefully move the toddler out of the way so the adults can go by and get their business done. I don't know if we need to say anything more about it.
Trey Holloman is about to have a basket of Horcruxes with how many souls that he's snatched over these last couple weeks. He snatched Michigan's souls in Chrysler when he made back-to-back threes. He snatched the whole state of Maryland's souls when he made the buzzer beater. He snatched Iowa on Thursday, and he snatched Michigan again to show who the champs are, who belongs on the Breslin Center court. And like Izzo said after the game, you aren't going to change our tradition. And if you aren't going to respect that, we're going to make you respect that tradition.
I think that Trey is going to be the only Spartan who's been able to publicly be celebrated for kissing the floor twice at Michigan State. I was quite frankly shocked.
Same.
Not that Tom would stick up for him and be proud of Trey for defending their tradition, their culture, their family, but the fact that he gave him the honor that only is allowed seniors before that moment, because he allowed the seniors to have their moment.
And it's just seniors, guys like Miles Bridges or Jaren Jackson, Gary Harris, guys who left early for the NBA. They didn't get that opportunity to kiss, even though they meant a lot to this program at their time in East Lansing. And Trey Holloman, he's not going to the NBA. He's not going to the transfer portal. Trey Holloman's going back to East Lansing next year. And that was just one of the most unreal scenes I've ever seen, was that post game with Izzo. Just, standing on business like this team has stood on business all year long. And as much fun as this week has been, this season has been, like, I'm just, these next couple weeks, I'm just so ready for.
And here's the thing, though, right? Like, I want to sit in this moment and I want to soak it up. And that's just what I have been doing all day. And I'm going to continue to do it until we get to the Big Ten tournament and we have to get back to business. This week has just been too much fun. And I'm sorry that we are just like so chaotic. We are just sitting in so much happiness and fun. I think there's some moments from the game Thursday night as well as the game at the Breslin Center that just need to like be rehashed and relived. The first one that is just, you know, occupying my mind is Cohen Carr against Iowa in the second half of that game. The man is everywhere. He's getting offensive rebounds. He's falling on the floor. He's somehow dishing the ball back out to the outside as he's falling to the floor, and then somehow gets back up, catches an alley-oop, and slams the ball down. I mean, the kid is absolutely insane.
And we've been saying it, I think, for a couple weeks, but it got to the point on Thursday where Tom Izzo started saying it, where Cohen Carr's points quite literally are worth more than two points. Like, they are just like game-changing plays. And the impact that he had in that second half, even though he only finished with like 8 points. But like you said, he was having those offensive rebounds. I think he had 4 blocks in the second half. Like, he was all over the place. And that's just like what you have to deal with in the second half against Michigan State is these guys coming off the bench who are freaks of nature, who have that dog mentality, who just break your souls.
And if I'm not mistaken, that dunk sequence that I was just talking about, either right before that or right after that, I can't remember exactly how it went down, he had another dunk. And I believe that was right in that 12 to 10 minute period in the second half where we went from being down, 10
to up 1.
Up and leading the game. And then we never lost the lead again after that, I don't believe. I'm wondering if I could get permission from my father to post this on our social medias. This just gives you a glimpse of the kind of family that I grew up in when it comes to Michigan State athletics. Is my dad the next day went back and watched the second half of the game and took a piece of paper and a pen and he recorded every score change, wrote it out with timestamped with the time that it happened. And then during the high impact plays, he would write like dunk next to it, right? Or like whatever happened if it was something really important. And I could look at his time-stamped record of the score changes and I could look from that 12 to 10 minute period and it was dunk, score change, dunk, score change. So I'm going to see if I can get him to let me post that because it's pretty precious and it shows to what level my family is obsessed with being Spartan fans.
If you think we're insane, well, we're not the only ones.
You're going to get a lot more content the next few weeks. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that was my moment, was the, Cohen Carr getting the offensive rebound, falling down, dishing it out, somehow getting back up for the alley-oop. What is a moment that is just occupying your brain right now?
I think the moment that comes for me is that sequence against Michigan where I think Michigan had just gone to a zone. Okay. And they started off in a man, and they were talking in the broadcast like, hey, like, zone's given Michigan State some issues, even against in the first Michigan game. And Michigan goes to a zone, and I think it was 3 or 4 straight possessions that Michigan State scored. And it was kind of capped off by this slam by Jace Richardson.
I was wondering if this was going to be it for you.
And after that, and like when Jace went up, I was like, where did he come from?
Yes.
And then literally
sneak attack. Absolute sneak attack.
Not 5 seconds later, Michigan, like they do better than anything else, they threw the ball to the opposing team.
Turn the ball over.
Akins is running down the court, met by, I think, Danny Wolf. And instead of going up, he just turns around, gets it to Kohler, and Kohler slams. And Breslin explodes. And that was just a microcosm of that whole game.
Yes.
That 5-second sequence of back-to-back dunks.
And I'm still trying to figure out which sequence I love more. The back-to-back Cohen dunks from Thursday night or the back-to-back Jace to Kohler tomahawk dunk. Like, do I have to pick? I don't think I have to pick. It's all just so fun.
Jackson Kohler is already one of the best rebounders in the entire country at 6'9", with, as Matt Sheehan said earlier this week, where his vertical is about the same height as a piece of paper. I've never seen this man get up so high. If we could see more of that from Jackson Cole, like this guy's going to be freaking Dennis Rodman on the boards in March.
And this is what's so fun about this team is like just when I think I've figured out everybody's role or like what their ceiling is, something changes and they surprise me again. Jackson Kohler's got a vertical. Okay. Like, where did this come from? You know? Like, gosh, this team is just way too much fun. And so I'm going to sit here. I'm going to enjoy it. I think that we're going to do really well in this Big Ten tournament. And we're going to spend our We Got It Covered segment kind of walking you through like what should we expect heading into some of these matchups. So we'll dig into that a little bit more, but I'm excited to see what this team can do. And then I'm excited for Selection Sunday, even though I know we're probably not going to get what we deserve. And I'm excited for the NCAA tournament. Like it's just the thing is like, I'm trying to hold on to the now while also being excited about the future. And it's just so much fun.
I want to end this segment with
we have to end it.
Player of the week. Ooh. I think this is going to be probably, at least for me, it's pretty easy. And I think it's been hard because the last couple weeks we've been giving this to Jace.
Yeah.
And I think Jace very much is in this conversation. He carried Spartans, kept them in the game for the first 30 minutes against Iowa.
Yeah.
I think he finished with 21 points. And he was fantastic again on Sunday. But I think, for me at least, you got to give the player of the week to the Jigathon, Trey Holloman. And set a career high on Sunday with 20 points. But he could have had 0 points against Michigan, and I would still have given this man the player of the week just by the fact that he broke the souls of Iowa and he broke the souls of Michigan.
I was going to argue. I don't even think I would have cared if he had 0 points against Iowa. Just his pure grit and his ability to motivate his team in a way that is just like undeniable, lighting fires under absolutely everyone and breaking the spirits of his opponents. It's unmatched. It's absolutely unmatched.
I was clutching my heart because I had a moment realizing, again, as I've been trying to deny all day, that Jaden Akins is a senior. I mean, how long has he been my favorite player?
I think he's been your favorite player for 4 years.
Honestly, since the end of his freshman season. Like, I have loved Jaden Akins. He has been someone that, maybe not everybody would agree with me, but he's been wildly consistent in his effort and the fact of like how he has shown up every game. I'm going to mention him as like an honorable player of the week.
I think the last 3 games, I think he's had now 10 or 11 threes. I think he deserves to be Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. Finished this year as our leading scorer. Like, as much as I think throughout the season, we've talked about like him maybe struggling
offensively,
from his shot, not being the alpha leader that we maybe wanted or expected him to be. But any player who is on a 17-3 Big Ten champion team, who's your leading scorer and is the best defender in the whole entire league, like, he deserves his flowers.
Yes.
I just think of that picture of him in like 5th grade where he's holding up the Spartan head and says, when I grow up, I want to be a Michigan State Spartan. And then now the picture that I saw side by side of that, and then a picture of him kissing the Spartan head. And
my gosh.
This dude's dreams have come true.
His tears.
And you just have to think that, especially the 3 years that he went through prior to this, to be able to end his career, hanging at least one banner, going out the way that Michigan State has.
And surrounded by this group of guys, especially after the culture on the team the last few years. And just, seeing his tears at the end, like, Jaden's someone who I think has always been like pretty stoic. He's always very even keeled, very quiet. So to see him display that kind of emotion on the court, it got me right in the feels. So I absolutely agree with you. Like, Trey for impact player of the week, but I gotta at least shout out Jaden Akins a little bit here.
I love it. I honestly think you give player of the week. It's been strength in numbers all season long. So guess what?
Everybody
this
gets
whole dang team is getting player of the week because guess what? They're Big Ten champs!
Big Ten champs!
All right, Abby, we talked about in our last segment how Michigan State is about everyone. It's displayed from the face of Michigan State, Tom Izzo, every single freaking day. So it's our duty to carry on that legacy. So even though there's a lot to talk about with this basketball
We're
team.
being really dramatic about everything today. We gotta calm down a little bit. It's time for halftime. We're gonna give you some halftime.
So let's give you a quick brief update on the happenings around Michigan State athletics. Start off, the women's basketball team was in Indianapolis this week for their Big Ten tournament. Unfortunately, they fell to the Iowa Hawkeyes in their first game. And yeah, disappointing, I think, end to Big Ten play for the Lady Spartans, but they will definitely be in March Madness. So their season is not done. So looking forward to seeing how they can do in March.
I do think that Iowa team was wildly underseeded. I mean, they are a talented team, you know, returning players from last year with Caitlin Clark.
They've been to the last two national championships. Yeah,
they're trying to three-peat, which has never happened before in women's basketball. And they're sitting in the Big Ten tournament as the 11th seed. I mean, come on.
Pretty wild. It's been a deep Big Ten for women's side this year.
As well as men's. I mean, it's been honestly so fun to watch women's basketball, and they're not going to be done. They're coming back with their own NCAA tournament, so definitely don't miss out. Just because their Big Ten, tournament run has ended doesn't mean that these girls can't do big things still in March.
Absolutely. Men's hockey team had a bye week this week in the Big Ten tournament because they are also Big Ten champs. And
you might be wondering, why the heck are we talking about this? Because it's a wonderful day to be a Michigan State Spartan, and it's a really not great week to be a U of M Wolverine.
Yeah, so the Penn State Nittany Lions went into Ann Arbor and swept the Wolverines this weekend.
Oof.
So Michigan State will not be facing Michigan next week. They'll be facing Penn State at Munn Ice Arena for the Big Ten tournament semifinals. So it's going to be a fun week next week as we got hockey and men's basketball in the Big Ten tournament, but still these next couple weeks for men's hockey, men's basketball, women's basketball, even gymnastics teams still have their season going. So a lot going on, a lot to be happy for. It's great to be a Spartan. All right, folks, we're not done talking about this basketball team as we got the Big Ten tournament coming up this upcoming week in Indianapolis. Like we mentioned earlier, we will be down there giving you all the coverage along with Spartans Illustrated. So make sure you're following along for the ride because it's going to be a fun weekend, I think. Big Ten tournament bracket is now set. So for the We Got It Covered segment, we're kind of just going to want to give a breakdown of Big Ten tournament, kind of what to expect, some potential matchups for Michigan State. I think a couple potential options of getting some payback for Michigan State. So to start off, Michigan State will start their Big Ten tournament play on Friday at the matinee game. So the first kicking it off at noon.
Which is always so weird to me. I'm like, why does the 1 seed overall have to play noon on Friday? Which, I kind of understand it because it's like that game is supposed to be probably like the least exciting. You have the best team matching up against the worst team. But I'm also like, these poor Spartan fans.
But then you also
have to
get
go to work on Friday.
More rest.
This is true.
Leading up to the game. Okay. More time to...
Logically, I understand it. For people who have to work on Friday, I just, let your bosses know that you're not going to be working for a couple hours.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe taking a long lunch on Friday.
But Michigan State, their opponent is not quite yet set in stone. They will face the winner of the Oregon versus Indiana game.
Okay, so that's already set.
Yes.
So they're each getting a single bye.
Correct.
I'm sorry, but halfway through the season, Indiana, they're playing at home. Their fans are literally shouting to fire their coach. They did fire their coach. And now they're getting a single bye in the Big Ten tournament that teams aren't even making it into.
And they're pretty safely in the NCAA tournament as well.
It's wild to me. What happened this second half of the season? I mean, they beat us, which I would really like to not ever have to think about again.
But yeah, they've kind of turned their season around. They've rallied around their kind of lame duck coach. And I think they've been playing really good basketball. They've beaten Purdue. They've beaten Michigan State. They beat Ohio State on Saturday. Wow. So playing some pretty good basketball, and obviously too one of the 3 teams in the Big Ten to have knocked us off this season. They will obviously play a good Oregon team as well that gave us a lot of fits, that kind of dominated us in the first half at Breslin Center. So
who do you prefer in that matchup for Michigan State? Like, what are you hoping for? What's the outcome?
I think if I'm honest with myself, like, I'm pretty confident that like Michigan State will take care of business on Friday, regardless of who they play. I think just from like a storyline perspective, like I think getting that payback. Versus Indiana, I think would be good. Kind of say like, okay, like you got us at one time, but we'll get you here.
I don't think there's a world in which we match up against Indiana on Friday and don't pummel them with the same intensity that we just brought out against Michigan.
And I think too, like especially looking at Michigan State, where they've got the Big Ten championship already, likely already a top 2 seed locked in the tournament. Like they honestly don't have like a ton to play for in the Big Ten. Like it could be like conceived that they might not have a ton of motivation to like come out and win 3 games in 3 days. But again, these guys
have a freaking screw loose. And they're never going to let up.
But I think one thing that would kind of increase that motivation is going up against a team that got the better of you earlier in the season.
And quite frankly, Oregon got the better of us in the first half that they played against us. And, you know, you could see it the opposite way. Now Oregon's coming for some blood. But again, I like our odds.
Yeah, so I like our odds on Friday against either of those teams. And then so if Michigan State were to advance on the Saturday, they would likely play, if the seeding kind of holds true, the winner of either Wisconsin or UCLA, which would again be potential for some more payback. Which, like, if you could write the script for this, it'd be like, beat Indiana, beat UCLA.
You would shut up any remaining critics.
Yeah. And that would get you to the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
I think, like, obviously it's March. Anything can happen. But,
absolutely.
Like, I think Michigan State's going to be decently favored in both any potential Friday or Saturday games. If they were to reach Sunday, the bottom of that bracket is, I think, a crapshoot. As far as like who's going to come out of that, you have
you're saying on the opposite side of the bracket.
The bottom half of that bracket. You got Maryland, you have Purdue, you have Illinois, you have Michigan.
Oh my goodness!
Like I think,
and they've all like traded games with one another.
Exactly.
So it really is like a any man's game sort of situation as far as who's going to emerge and make it to Sunday.
Yeah, I think if I'm being honest with myself, if I look at this matchup, like. I think Illinois is likely to get to Maryland on Friday, and Purdue is likely to get to Michigan. And I don't have any trust in Michigan. I think Purdue would pretty like comfortably beat the Wolverines. Illinois has been playing really well, and I think they're motivated. I think they would beat Maryland.
Yeah.
And I think either one of those teams, either Purdue or Illinois, like both of those teams would probably be out for some blood against Michigan State.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
We're a combined 3-0 against those teams. Both those teams kind of been there before the Big Ten tournament. So like that could kind of set up a potential like fantastic championship game if it kind of went that route. But I'm super excited for this. Like I think there is a chance for some upsets. I think there's a chance for some really, really, really good games. And I'm excited that we're going to be able to be there. Not only watch Michigan State, but to watch some of these other games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And to take you guys along for the ride, hopefully with us. So if you're getting a little bit confused of like matchup, like, wait, who could we play on Saturday or who could we play on Sunday? We've got some things cooking. We're hoping to keep you kind of updated and maybe just doing some little segments on Friday, Saturday, help you kind of know what's going on, recap games, preview the next
And
day.
Obviously we'll be there with you Sunday to kind of look ahead to March Madness after the selection show. Maybe some live episodes if we're feeling a little spicy.
I don't know how I feel about that.
We'll see. Like I said, we don't even know what's in store for you guys this week, but I guarantee you guys won't want to miss it. Hopefully that gave you just a little kind of glimpse of the Big Ten tournament. We're excited. I know you guys are excited about it. We're here. MSU Sports is for everyone.
We just want to
Big Ten championships, or Big Ten championships though.
Not for everyone.
MSU Sports is for everyone. Big Ten champions, not for everyone, because Michigan State is the sole outright Big Ten champions. Baby.
I just want to thank you guys for being here. Thanks for putting up with us when we're so chaotic and so excited about this team. I am so sorry if we have blasted your eardrums this episode. You probably had to turn your volume down a few times. We'll see if we can work out some of that in the editing process. But man, oh man, it's a good time to be a Spartan.
Go green.
Go white. Go state.